Think about your child's first day of kindergarten. Yeah, maybe you were a little nervous about whether or not you put them in the absolute best school for your child. That's only because you had so many options. Charter schools, open enrollment, private schools. Really, this was an exciting time for your family, and you celebrated the growing up that this transition represented. But this is not the case for many parents of children with autism. Rather, our parents tell us that they often lay awake at night fearing that first day of school. Since the first time they heard the word autism, parents feel like they're racing against the clock, hoping that their child will not require any special services once they enter kindergarten. Now, this transition is not easy on our schools either. And especially in an era of high-stakes testing, increased scrutiny on teacher and administrator performance, and extremely tight budgets. Yet each year, 1 out of every 64 children enter the school system in Arizona with an autism diagnosis. And our schools are federally required to make sure that they provide an effective education for all students. And autism, as you know, is a spectrum disorder with huge individual differences that requires highly individualized instruction to be effective. Now, SARC is trying to ease that transition. On the cover of our Outreach magazine, we tell the story of Vin Peterson and the SARC staff that worked together with Vin's family and the school to ensure a successful transition to kindergarten, where Vin is currently thriving. And our educational consultants are in classrooms every single day, helping to support teachers, support individual students with autism. We're incredibly proud of what we're doing in schools today. But here's the thing, not every child with autism will walk through SARC's doors, yet all children in Arizona will go to school. And this is where SARC can be a catalyst for change. First thing we need to do is include students with autism in general education classrooms. Special education was never designed to be a place. Special education is a service that should be delivered to the child as opposed to taking the child and bringing them over to the service. And in autism, this is even more important. This is a social disorder. What sense does it make to put a whole bunch of kids with social and language impairments in one room together and then no one's talking to anyone? Rather, our kids need many opportunities to learn from and interact with their typically developing peers, the social experts. The SARC's community school is a good example of this already happening right in our own community. There are about 50 kids in the school, 18 of them have autism. Our own son Grady has attended the community school since he was 17 months of age. My wife and I chose the community school for him because of the highly trained staff, the 4-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, the opportunity to ride in the HOV lane every single morning, and the fact that we're so focused on language and social interaction. Now, our outcomes for kids with autism are remarkable and speak directly to the importance of early identification and intervention that Drs. Melman and Smith just told you about. For instance, most children with autism enter the community school with little or no functional speech and leave the school talking. Over the last 2 years, more than half the kids that have graduated from the community school went directly into general education kindergarten classrooms. And this year, 5 out of 6 of our pre-K students will do exactly the same. Consider the reduction in special education spending that this represents, particularly if the community school can be replicated throughout the state. But that's not the only impact of the community school. It can be much bigger and broader. In special education research, all we do is develop better and more effective ways of teaching the most challenged children. But at the end of the day, all we're left with is really effective teaching procedures that can really benefit all children. And we know that if we want to improve education in Arizona, one thing we need to do is close the achievement gap between low-income and more affluent students. And we also know that in early childhood programs, nothing is more important than targeting early language and literacy. And if our exceptional staff at SARC can improve language in children with autism, imagine what they can do with children who don't have a language impairment. I'll give you an example. Levi is one of more than a dozen children without autism who has participated in SARC's community school due to a First Things First scholarship for children from low-income families. Over the course of Levi's first year in the preschool, which was 10 and a half months' time, he made 18 months' progress in his language development. Now, Levi does not have autism, and we know that many children from low-income families are most at risk for starting kindergarten unprepared. Levi's not only going to start the kindergarten prepared, he's likely to start ahead of the game. Now, there's a social benefit here, too. One of my favorite research studies compared the attitudes of typically developing kids who were in an inclusive preschool program with children with autism, just like Sark's community school, with typical kids who went to regular preschools. They showed all the children a video of a child asked to do a very simple task and then watched that child fail to do that task. They asked the kids, "What do you think?" The kids from the typical preschools, the regular preschools, responded, "He's bad, he should be punished," or "He's just a baby, he can't do it." The typical students that attended with kids with autism responded, "I bet I could teach him to do it." Think about the impact that this can make on the huge problem we have with bullying in our schools. Think about who we want to be the future leaders of our state. Think about how we can extend access to autism instruction to all students. Think about how we can extend access to autism instruction by replicating the community school on public school campuses, where we have the opportunity to not only benefit individual students with autism, but all students on public school campuses. Now, I know it sounds like a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? And it is, but in fact, it's already happening. Following years of litigation, the State Department of Hawaii estimated that it was spending $30 million per year on outside contracted providers to come into their schools to teach children with autism. This is in addition to the regular teachers and staff. Due to Sark's amazing track record of working in schools, Hawaii invited Sark to help them build statewide capacity internally and become less reliant on outside contracted providers. For the last 18 months, Sark has sent staff to the state of Hawaii and to set up 5 model classrooms of excellence across the state. 2 elementary school classrooms, 1 middle school, 2 high school. On your screen now, you can see some of the students, teachers, and staff from Ahui Manu Elementary School in Honolulu, Hawaii. Now, in addition to training the teachers and paraprofessionals that are working in the classrooms, we also developed a train-the-trainer model in which we focused our efforts on a new team of coaches whose role it was to build and maintain the model classrooms and then travel through the rest of the state to improve instruction. The ultimate goal is to build statewide capacity in Hawaii so that teachers are better prepared to teach children with autism and children who do not have autism. We can do this right here in Arizona. We can invest in the educational practices and deliver them to children with autism in general education classrooms, and then leverage that investment to benefit Arizona's children in every classroom, every school, and every district. Think about your child's first day of kindergarten, and then think about how quickly they grew up and all the transitions you went through. We have to be prepared because children with autism become adults with autism, and we need to consider how we support those transitions along the way.